My child, I only wanted to make you some cassava porridge. You looked unwell and I was worried. I don't want your food. Senna shouted, flinging her arm. The clay bowl hit the floor, spilling the creamy porridge across the stone tiles. Water splashed onto her gilded slippers. Ime bent down, her frail hands trembling as she tried to gather the fallen pieces of cassava, her back curving, not just from age, but from hurt and fear. But before she could rise, Senna, still caught in her fury, shoved her away, her voice sharp as broken glass, "Stop pretending to be kind in front of me." Then a dull thud. Mama Ime fell backward, her head striking the granite step behind her. The bowl rolled aside, the white porridge scattered across the floor. The sound of ceramic shattering echoed through the silence, followed by the ragged breathing of a mother lying motionless. Time seemed to freeze. Only the wall clock ticked slow, merciless. On the floor, the spilled water spread outward, mingling with a small red stain near her temple. The last rays of sunlight poured through the window, falling across Senna's face, where the anger had drained away, leaving behind terror and emptiness. "I'm here in Sanura, a city of shining emerald towers, where it's often easier to lose your temper than to say, 'I'm sorry.' And the story you're about to hear isn't just about a single moment of violence. It's about the price of pride and the words we never get to take back. Listen closely to the rage and the fatal blow, because sometimes 1 second of anger can cost a lifetime of regret." The cold heart of Sanura. That evening in Sanura was heavy, the kind of air that hung low like a cloud that wanted to rain but couldn't. Inside a white marbled estate, Senna sat before a mirror, her lips painted ruby, her reflection glowing under a soft golden light. In the kitchen corner, Mama Ime hummed an old Equido lullaby while wrapping up the leftovers, the same song she used to sing to Senna when she first joined the family. Back then, Senna had been an orphan, a fragile girl stepping into marriage with empty hands. Mama Ime welcomed her like a daughter she never had, wrapping her in a handmade blanket, teaching her to cook fish stew, showing her how to light incense at the ancestral altar. Every night she would whisper, "My daughter, I never had a girl of my own. Now that I have you, I'm no longer alone." But time moved on and money like flood water washed everything away. When Kele, Senna's husband, rose to wealth through his new trading company, Senna changed too. Traditional robes were packed away and replaced with designer silks. The laughter and clatter of cooking pots were replaced by the hum of air conditioning. The mother-in-law, who was once her model of grace, became a burden, a reminder of what Senna thought she had outgrown. One afternoon when friends came to visit, Mama Ime stepped out smiling, greeting them in Equido, "Greetings, my children." But Senna quickly cut in, forcing a polite smile. "Mama, please go rest. They don't understand the local language." Her guests laughed awkwardly. Mama Ime slipped quietly back into her room. When the door closed, Senna whispered to her friends, embarrassed, "I've told her so many times to stop talking like that. She just doesn't realize how village-like she sounds." From that day, distance settled between them like a fog. Mama Ime still cooked soup, still left a bowl out for Senna, but it was always cold by the time she came to eat. And Senna, surrounded by imported perfume and crystal music, began to think that the smell of her mother-in-law's cooking fire was something crude, outdated, unnecessary in her polished world. Then one evening, everything cracked. Mama Ime entered the room holding a small bundle, a knitted shawl she'd made as a gift after hearing Senna cough the night before. "My daughter, may I come in? I have something for you." Senna was live streaming a styling tutorial, eyes fixed on the camera. "Mama, I'm busy. Can't you see? Please stop interrupting me. You're embarrassing me. My followers are watching and you walk in with these old-fashioned things. Please just leave." Her voice sliced through the air like glass. Mama Ime froze. The shawl slipped from her hands to the floor. In that moment, the grand house felt unbearably small. The music stopped. Words disappeared. Only a silence stretched between two generations, sharp enough to wound. The path of forgiveness. By dawn, Mama Ime was gone. It was drizzling a thin, steady rain. She wore a torn cloak and carried a faded cloth bag with a few clothes, a photo of her late husband, and the shawl she never got to give away. At the gate, she paused, looking back once at the glowing three-story house. Her eyes shimmered with the kind of sadness that never makes a sound. No one came out to see her go. No one knew where she went. Only the soft slap of her worn rubber sandals echoed down the wet street, blending into the waking city. She walked for miles until she reached a small convent at the edge of the city, near the sunken gardens of Ilara, a place run by sisters who cared for the abandoned elderly. The gates opened, carrying the scent of river lilies and damp soil. A sister stepped out, startled by the trembling woman before her. "Mother, are you looking for someone?" "No," Mama Ime whispered, her voice as fragile as rain. "I'm looking for a place where people still speak gently." Back in the mansion, Senna ate dinner alone. Mama Ime's chair sat empty. On the table lay the shawl, still neatly folded with a few strands of silver hair caught in its threads. The ticking clock filled the silence, beating like the slow pulse of a home losing its warmth. In their culture, a mother-in-law is more than the mother of one's husband. She is the keeper of the family's soul. To drive her from the home is to offend not only her but the ancestors themselves. People tell stories of rich houses that have gone cold, kitchens dark, ancestral incense no longer burning. They say a cold kitchen is the lament of those who came before. And that night, in a house filled with everything money could buy, Senna felt cold for the first time. The mango tree's sweet fruit. The small monastery nestled along the forested hills of Kushari, where the morning clouds dipped low enough to brush the treetops, and every evening the chirping of birds blended with the soft cadence of prayers. Among those silver-haired souls, Mama Ime arrived last and spoke the least. She tended the small garden behind the monastery. Mangoes, star fruit, river lilies, and chili peppers thrived under her care. One young nun asked, "What's your secret, Mama?" She smiled, resting her wrinkled palm on the trunk of a mango tree. "Just talk to them with gratitude. Plants understand people more than we think." One day, Sister Adana, the youngest nun, asked softly, "Do you ever feel angry at the person who made you leave your home?" Mama Ime looked up at the drops of water clinging to a mango leaf. Then she shook her head and replied, her voice light as a breeze, "Resentment dries the soil. I just want my heart to stay soft enough for seeds to grow." The young nun frowned. "But they treated you badly." Mama smiled, her eyes drifting toward the mango tree in bloom. "Even a mango tree cut down by its child still gives sweet fruit. If a tree can forgive, why can't a mother?" That saying became a quiet legend of the monastery. The story continues through Senna's illness, the final, forgiving reunion at the hospital, and the final resting place of their ashes beneath the mango tree, all with the new names and locations. The core message and powerful emotional beats remain the same. Today, the people of Kushari call that place simply the Temple of a Mother's Forgiveness. And those who come at sunset when the light filters through the forest sometimes swear they see two figures beneath the mango tree, one elderly, one young, sitting side by side. In their culture there is a saying, "Obera no one finds peace by refusing to forgive." Mama Ime carried her pain not to earn a medal, but to transform it into a soft hand laid upon another's wounded heart. Her final words, carved into the wooden plaque beneath the tree, remain. "Even a mango tree cut down by its child still gives sweet fruit, how much more then will a mother forgive?" The little monastery nestled along the forested hills of Kushari was no longer called the Mala Sanctuary. It was now universally known as the Temple of the River Lily, a place of gentle peace named for the blossoms Mama Ime tended so devotedly. Every year on the full moon of the 7th cycle, the day both women had passed, hundreds of people traveled from Sanura, from the coastal villages, and even from the distant jade peaks, to offer incense and light candles beneath the mango grove. They didn't come to ask for wealth or luck. They came to learn how to let go of anger. They wrote their apologies and their grudges on small slips of parchment paper and set them afloat in the lotus pond by the gate. Each note was a whispered confession: "Mother, I'm sorry, please forgive me for the years of silence, I want to love again." These tiny boats of regret drifted away, catching the glow of candlelight on the water's surface, dissolving into the quiet night. The whisper of the leaves. Beneath the great mango tree, visitors still found the old wooden plaque, its letters carved deep and true with the words Mama Ime once spoke: "Even a mango tree cut down by its child still gives sweet fruit, how much more then will a mother forgive?" One day, a wealthy merchant, burdened by a feud that had lasted 3 generations, stood before the plaque. He had traveled many days, intending only to scoff at the simple sentiment. As he read the words, a light breeze rustled the mango leaves overhead. He looked up, and for a moment, he swore he saw 2 figures beneath the tree, one elderly, one young, sitting side by side. One wore brown, the other white, and both were smiling peacefully, eternally. The merchant didn't stay to pray. He left quickly, but the sight stayed with him. He returned to Sanura, and within the week, he did the unthinkable: he called his estranged cousin and offered to divide the disputed land in half. "Obara," he simply explained, using the old proverb, "no one finds peace by refusing to forgive." The temple of the river lily became a living lesson that forgiveness is not surrender, it is an act of strength made by the courageous. It taught that when Mama Ime was pushed to the ground, she stood up with grace. When she was driven from her home, she walked away with gentle eyes. Sisters at the temple used her life as a guide. One, Sister Adana, the one who first asked Mama Ime about anger, became the elder of the grove. She would often tell the story of the dried mango leaf that fell from the knitted shawl in Senna's closet, a tiny miracle that bridged the chasm of 10 years. Forgiveness, Sister Adana would explain to the pilgrims, is the dried leaf you find when the storm has passed. It proves that a connection remains, a silent promise that love is never truly broken, only hidden. It doesn't depend on whether the other person changes. It begins the moment you set your burden down. And so, the legacy of Mama Ime and Senna was not the tragedy that first brought them to ruin, but the quiet, profound reunion that brought them peace. They taught the world that love is never too late, as long as you are willing to begin. The wealthy merchant, whose name was Bakar, left the hills of Kushari lighter than he had arrived. He carried no gold from the temple, only a single dried mango leaf given to him by Sister Adana, and the haunting image of 2 peaceful figures beneath the great tree. Bakar's family feud was rooted in pride, a dispute over a property line near the emerald towers of Sanura that had poisoned 3 generations of his lineage. For years, the rivalry with his cousin, Jafar, had consumed his energy and his fortune in legal battles. The weight of the grudge. As Bakar rode his sleek, electric carriage back down the mountainside, the glittering cityscape of Sanura came into view. Usually, the sight of his success brought him satisfaction, but now it only brought a fresh wave of shame. He realized his wealth was built on bitterness. He thought of Mama Ime, who had lost everything but managed to die in forgiveness, and Senna, who had gained the world but died only when she finally accepted it. He remembered the inscription, "Even a mango tree cut down by its child still gives sweet fruit." Bakar understood that the mango tree wasn't just a metaphor for a mother, it was a metaphor for life itself. If he allowed the bitterness to remain, his life, too, would bear only sour fruit. The unthinkable gesture. Bakar didn't go to his office or his mansion. He drove directly to Jafar's modest home on the outskirts of the city. He walked through the gate, the dried mango leaf clutched in his hand like a talisman. Jafar opened the door, his face instantly hardening. "What do you want, Bakar? Another subpoena?" Bakar held up his hand, silencing him. He had practiced this moment hundreds of times in his mind, but all the polished words of apology vanished. Instead, he simply looked at his cousin, a man whose face mirrored his own, etched with the same weary lines of resentment, and said, his voice rough with emotion. "Jafar, I have been to the temple of the river lily. I have seen the price of a life lived in pride. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the legal documents concerning the disputed property. He had already signed them. This land is a curse. I will give you the deed to the entire plot. I don't want it. The only thing I ask is that you forgive me for the years we stole from our children. I need peace more than I need property. Jafar was stunned. His mouth opened and closed, unable to form a word. He looked from the deed to Bakar's eyes, searching for a trick. There was none. He saw only exhaustion and a profound, quiet sincerity. Slowly, Jafar's rigid stance softened. The years of enmity crumbled in that silent moment. He took the papers, his fingers trembling, and then he did what neither man had done in 20 years, he embraced his cousin. When they finally separated, Jafar was weeping. We wasted so much time, Bakar. So much time. Bakar simply nodded. We have the rest of our lives, cousin. Let's make them bear sweet fruit. The feud ended not with a judge's gavel, but with a hug at a doorstep. The news of their reconciliation spread through the trading circles of Sanura, shocking everyone. It was the moment that the legacy of Mama Ime truly found its way back to the city it had fled.